How to make onion rings. The first thing you do is decide you have more vegetables than just onions, so you want to make more than just onion rings. That's step number one, is to confuse the process. Because really, for this, I already had some beef stew and bread going, but I wanted some onion rings. I'm like, fuck it, man, I'll make some onion rings. Anyway, so that's like probably like a cup and a quarter of regular all-purpose flour, about a teaspoon of baking soda, and I'm going to go pretty heavy for salt, heavier than you might think, because really all the flavoring is going to happen in the batter here. And you could go crazy with this. Like you could add cayenne pepper or freaking cumin or herbs. You could go all kinds of crazy with this stuff. But okay, yeah. So like there's a quarter of a lemon that I'm going to use on top of the baking soda. Really, I'm kind of going off into vegetable tempura at this point, except I don't use eggs. I don't really want like a cakey batter. You could use the same kind of thing for like a fish fry. It would be perfect for that. So there's the baking soda going. Boom. There's the cat. Damn cat. I put a little sugar in there. You absolutely do not have to put sugar in this. That was like almost a teaspoon probably. So I had onions, but I also had broccoli and mushrooms that I wanted to use. And here, do this in the sink, because this way you can go as crazy as you want. And I'm not putting all the water in there I need. I'm just putting enough in order to mix it, because I want to use its own like elasticity to mix it up. So I added some more water, and I keep adding water until I get the consistency just right. You want it fairly thick. This is because you want it to stick to the vegetables. What a lot of people do is they'll flour up the vegetables first and then roll them in this. It's not necessary if you have the right thickness that's kind of like sympathetic to the vegetable itself. Yes, it is hot enough. So with broccoli, use small pieces of broccoli. Yeah, definitely don't use big pieces, because it's going to get all gunked up in the tops of the trees there, and you want it. You want to be able to cook it without having to. You don't want to have to overcook it just to cook that batter inside there. So knock as much out of the broccoli as you can. And also, like I said before, I'm only cooking for 2 people, so I'm trying not to use too much stuff, including oil. So that's why I'm using a smaller pot. If you had a bigger pot and a couple inches of oil, you could go crazy. I use a high flash point oil too. This is peanut oil. Peanut oil is perfect for something like this. So now I'm actually getting to the onion rings, and you can see I'm going to use the smaller pieces too, because I don't have a big pot. I'm trying not to waste. The other thing is too, with peanut oil, after using it to cook stuff like this, you can definitely reuse that peanut oil. You want to go for something heavier though, like you could use this peanut oil again for French fries, or if you were going to do a fish fry, you could do that. You definitely don't want to reuse this for something like funnel cake. So there's your broccoli. Onion rings are getting done. And when the stuff gets stuck together too, don't fight it at this stage, especially in boiling oil like that. Let it do what it wants to do first, and then you can break it up later on. It's definitely much easier to do this when you have a big pot of oil. It's no fuss, no muss then. Alright, so there's the broccoli and the onion rings. We're going for mushrooms, and I'm going to cut these in half just so they're not so big. And I went from the vegetable that takes the longest to cook to the one that's the fastest to cook. Really, mushrooms and onions are about the same, even though onions are obviously a lot thinner. They're higher density. But these take about the same time. So if you had like a big vat of oil going, you could put mushrooms and onions in there at the same time. Mushrooms are done. Now I'm gonna make the sauces for this in real time. There you can see the finished product. That didn't take long at all to cook those. Probably 10 minutes total, maybe even less. And to make these two sauces is gonna take me about, I don't know, less than 2 minutes. This is usually something you do beforehand, and especially with this first sauce I'm gonna make, which is like a sesame sauce. This you want to allow to sit in the refrigerator for like an hour so everything can pull itself together. So that's about, well, that was 1 green onion. Now the sesame seeds. And there's no measurements here. With this kind of stuff, man, just make it till it's right. You know, go by your eye first, look at it, and just see if you're headed in the right direction. And then the big test is, once you get the basic ingredients in there, is to taste it and see if it's right. This kind of thing, you can't go wrong because you can just keep adjusting. I mean, if you really screwed it up, you could keep adjusting until you had a lot more, you know, until you had twice as much as what you wanted to make. This thing, you can just keep adjusting. It's impossible to go wrong with these ingredients. Like the sesame seeds and green onions, it doesn't matter how much you put in there. Just put in as much as you want it. Now, this didn't have enough zing for me yet. I like a lot of zing. I like vinegar a lot. So, you know, like French fries, I like eating boardwalk fries with vinegar. I love that. A lot of people don't love that. But I like this with a lot of zing. First sauce done. Boom. Second sauce would be a horseradish sauce, which is absolutely ideal for this kind of stuff. There, I had to edit that out because I was really wrestling with what was left of that mayonnaise. How horseradish goes into horseradish sauce? Oh, actually, I put the Worcestershire in first. Now, the horseradish, you keep putting the horseradish in until your head caves in. That's my rule of thumb. When you can feel your head caving in, you have it perfect. I like a lot of horseradish. And there's literally no way to go wrong with this sauce either. Well, just don't start out with a lot of mayonnaise. Let me put it that way. Because then if you put in too much mayonnaise, you are going to have to make a lot of sauce. Now, I knew that this was going to be right because I like a lot of horseradish, which is what I put in there. There's your two sauces done. Boom. And really, this dinner was supposed to be beef stew and this bread that I was making. But once you start going to town on these things, man, I can't stop eating. I just kept eating these. Yeah, I'm going to double dip. Go ahead, do it. Nobody's watching. Yeah. Fuck it, man. This kind of thing, once you start going to town on this, it's just like grazing. So I got myself some beef stew, but I didn't even finish how much I spooned out here because I was just like eating the vegetables. And there's this crusty bread that I made. The bread I cooked like a bowl of bread, and it was about a third wheat flour. It was really good with the stew, but I kept eyeing these bad boys up. Yeah, because that shit was yummy.